Greetings, everyone, and it's good to be here with you again. And this is our semi-weekly, almost every weekly, but sometimes it's just the recording, and because we have to do something else. But we awake weekly meditation, or bi-weekly, or often weekly meditation. And today we're going to do track 3-1 from Profound Meditation series, which is one of our, just main uh, offerings here that's been around for years. It's very powerful. It has like 17 tracks or something like that. It's very, very cool. You can use this thing for years working on it. And there's let me somebody's mowing out there. Um, there's there's 3 levels of Delta, and this is the first level of Delta chapter 3, if you will. And Heidi and I really like it. We said, yeah, let's do it. So that's going to do it. So to set up this meditation, I want to tell a little story that might be interesting. And it also we're talking about a myth, okay, a story that's really old, but it really very powerful, impacted me because it very much retold my story in my life. So when I was very young, I might have mentioned this before, I think it was 1967 or 68, I had this spiritual opening, okay, where I was reading New Testament Sermon on the Mount they gave me at school, and it just like blew me away. Something just happened inside me. And the basic revelation was God is love and God is everywhere. And I was raised Catholic, and it's like, why didn't anybody tell me this? This seems like the most important thing that anybody can know. So and it lasted for months or something, just this afterglow of this. And I was telling all my friends about it, and they all started, reading the Bible and all this stuff. It was pretty wild. So yeah. So getting back to the story, I want to talk about. You've all heard of the Holy Grail, right? Parsifal. Most people probably know it through Monty Python movie, Myth of the Holy Grail, whatever that was, a send up of it. But the first transcript, the first time it was written out, was in 1180 by Chrétien de Troyes. I think that's the right pronunciation of his name. And it's a very interesting story. This young man, Parsifal, which has been translated as pure fool. He's very innocent, and he leaves home and leaves his mother and goes out into the world at a very young age, which I did. I left home at 14. And he has a vision, and he has a vision of the Grail Castle and the Grail King and this Holy Grail that's being carried by these people, and it's just this glowing object. And and prior to that, he had an interesting experience that went to the river, and there was a fisherman there, and he was roasting a fish over a fire. So he goes to the fisherman, and he gets a piece of the fish, and it burns his mouth and wounds him. Okay, and in the early Christian stuff, before the cross was a symbol, the fish was a symbol. Jesus said, "Follow me, I'll make you fishers of men." Peter, leader after Christ left, was the fisherman Peter. So anyway, so this is probably a symbol of getting a taste of God, getting a taste of the transcendent vision. And so then he goes on to have this vision of the Grail, and he blows it. He doesn't ask the right question, so the Grail goes away. And then he spends, just kind of being a knight and going through adventures and misadventures, and the land gets sick because he didn't ask the right question. And the question that he was supposed to ask when he found the Grail was, whom does the Grail serve? Whom does the Grail serve? So there's been so much written, so much esoteric literature, and this was a very powerful myth that was woven into Christian esoteric medieval uh, spirituality, and it's been passed down. A lot of authors have written about this, but he didn't ask the right question. So in this first manuscript, Chrétien de Troyes, in the 1180s, he didn't finish the story. So he gets up, he has the vision of the Grail again, and he asks the right question, and that's where the story ends. So we don't get to figure out what the hell was, whom does the Grail serve? So, and after that, many people tried to finish the story. They went on many versions of it, and it was reinterpreted as the cup that Joseph of Arimathea held up before the cross, and it contained Jesus' blood fell into it. It's a very powerful spiritual object and all kinds of stories. But basically, it's a symbol of deep, transcendent spirituality, having a vision of true nature, as A.H. Almas calls it, or the absolute, or God, or whatever, how you ever want to language it. So that's what I had when I was a kid. And I know a lot of people, when we're children, we have a similar experience. We have a moment where, we're looking at a sunset or looking in the eyes of our dog or listening to music, and we just have a spiritual experience. So we really don't know how to frame it. And that's what happened to me. And I never thought of going and asking a priest, like, what the heck is going on here? It just, it didn't relate to my experience at church. It was something else. So that led me, again, on a lot of misadventures. And it still has been very formative in my life. So, all that to say, in this meditation, we're going to ask, whom does the Grail serve? What is this ultimate achievement of union with the divine, with spirit, with God, with Jesus, with Buddha nature, with Allah, this ultimate awakening to our true nature? What does it serve? Okay. So I think that's a very, very good spiritual question. And Christiane de Troyes did not answer it for us. So we're left with the cliffhanger, if you will, that leads us to that deep spiritual question. So let's focus down. I recommend that we, focus our energy on our hearts in this meditation and just ask yourselves, whom does the Grail serve? What is the Grail and whom does it serve? So without further commentary, let's do this. And let me see, get my right. So whenever we're ready. Okay. Well, welcome back. Uh, that's PMP uh, 3.0, one of our most popular and long-lasting original uh, offerings. And it's got a bunch of tracks. It's very powerful. You can use these things for years. And that was level 3, track 1, that 20-minute track that we listened to. And train the brain into the delta, which is very deep. Takes us deeply into the unconscious or beyond the ego, if you will. And so um, I wanted to mention something that I don't know if you guys realize, but we have a podcast called Deep Transformation, a Self-Society Spirit, which I co-host with Dr. Roger Walsh. He's become a brother and collaborator, and and Heidi's basically the producer of it. And it's been going for a couple of years now. And one of the things we've been doing is having this ongoing conversation with A.H. Almas, aka Hamid Ali. And we've been going over this book of his, the Inner Journey Home. It's a big fat book. He's written many books. And as Roger once said, he thought that Hamid is probably one of the great sages of all time. Okay. And to me, it's like, I get to immerse myself in the works of Plotinus. Plotinus, he was a Roman mystic around 200 AD. And or Plato or Meister Eckhart or Julian of Norwich. And then you get to talk to him every couple of weeks or so, which is just tremendous. And Hamid was studied physics at UC Berkeley graduate school and taught there for a while, and went on and did lots of psychological work on himself. And finally, he had this realization of, calls it true nature or the absolute or God or how you want to language that. And with the scientific mind, he deeply explains it. It's like I've never seen anything parallel. I mean, he's very respected spiritual teacher among teachers. He's held in great regard, and he has this Ridwan school called the Diamond Approach, and it has little groups, and they work together with 2 teachers, and it's never become a cult. It's never been a big money making thing or glorifying the guru's, the leader's ego and everything. It's very, very clean. And he's in his 80s now, and we feel this is kind of a legacy thing that we're doing with him. He just wants to really put it all out there, and he's never done this with anybody before, apparently. This depth of work, the podcast. So that kind of ties into what we were talking about, whom's the grail serve. And Hamid was a teacher and helping people work through traumas and doing all this stuff. And when he had this awakening experience that we just, identified with God, if you will, just boom, for it lasted many years. And that's where a lot of the spiritual traditions say is that's kind of like the top of the mountain. That's where the journey ends, at the top of the mountain. Well, in this case, in this book, and what we've been talking about, he brings it back into descent into the world. In other words, coming back with the knowledge that you acquired from the identification with the Grail, if you will, and then you bring that back into the world. And that's very much goes along with the hero's journey. But Joseph Campbell, that some of you probably know, but he talks about in the mythology, there are all these great myths. There's a hero story being told over and over again. Jason the Argonauts, the Golden Fleece, the Holy Grail, where the hero, leaves the world, goes away, and gets on this mighty quest and finds this knowledge or this object, and then brings it back to the people. And so basically that's what Hamid is talking about too, is that that we need to, the work to do deep inquiry and remove the obstacles, our wounds, our stories, our, traumas, all of this stuff, work through that so that we can actually realize who and what we truly are. And with that knowledge and the essential compassion and love and strength and wisdom that comes from there, bring it back into the world to serve and to help. And So I think that's kind of my interpretation of whom does the Grail serve, is to have that realization of God, that realization of the ultimate, and don't get, um, messed up with the language, but just that, and as not an intellectual idea, but as a deeply embodied, profound realization, and then taking that and realizing it, then actualizing and getting out of your own way, and not having avoided taking responsibility for your own ego and your own defects and stuff like that, because that can really hurt giving back the gifts. And it's also parallel with the 10 ox herding pictures of Zen, very famous. Look them up on the internet. Fact check me on all this stuff. And it's got these 10 pictures that starts beginning of the spiritual journey. And then the last two pictures, and I've had these pictures hanging in the wall in my meditation room in Utah for decades now. So I've really been able to look at them. And the last picture is just a circle, this beautiful drawn circle in Japanese, art. And it's that realization, the journey, the fulfillment of the journey. And the last picture is the person that's been on the journey. He's coming back into the world, back into the marketplace with open hands and open heart, to be of service, to serve all sentient beings, if you will. So that kind of, you know, there it is. There's the Holy Grail. And whom does it serve? Yeah, well, it serves you and it serves me. And it comes from you and me. And it is in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus said, the kingdom is within you and it's also without you. It's everywhere. We can see it. And the key is inside. So I think that is probably way more than enough for today. So God bless you guys. Thank you. And our brother and sister from the Philippines have been going through some crazy times, typhoons and earthquakes, like right on top of each other. And so they're okay. And, say a few prayers for them. And, so God, you guys are okay because, your family, we love you. All right. And you too. Thank you, everyone.